How's it going?
You know what I'm about to ask. Did you practice guitar this week?
I was called into work all week. It was just been very stressful.
Well, if that's your answer, then I guess you know the drill. Be true to the YYCPG crew. Practice hard, practice smart, no excuses.
Have you been playing guitar for a while and you're like, man, I don't know, I don't seem to be getting any better? Are you a beginner and you're just completely lost and you don't know what to do? Hit me up for a one-on-one consultation. Friends, Brian here for Yes You Can Play Guitar, and I'm going to do a really important video here. I've been teaching guitar for a long time. A lot of you now probably know me more from my reaction videos, but I've been a guitar instructor for 30 years and I've been a professional musician for about that same amount of time. But I want to point out to you guys a couple of things that I notice all the time. I know a lot of people that take up an instrument, take up guitar, and when it comes to the theoretical end of things, which is very important because theory basically is just understanding what's going on, you know. So I often laugh when I see people say theory's stupid. It's stupid because you want to have an idea of what's going on. But I get a lot of people who they're just content being lost year after year after year, and they're so confused. Even some of the more popular music teaching, educational channels out there, they kind of almost start at a certain level that's above a lot of the beginners and leaving them totally in the dust. So like I'll have friends that subscribe to certain channels and I say, so what do you find when you watch that channel? What do you get out of it? I have no idea what they're talking about, but sounds cool, so subscribe. But that feeling of being lost, of being confused. I remember in my first band, I was the rhythm guitar player many years ago. And this was before my formal studying, my formal lessons, my formal education. And I played with a lead guitar player who was quite good at that time, and he was educated. But when he said to me, oh, can you play the C sharp on the A string? Or, you know, when you played that E flat minor 7 chord, I was just completely lost. It's not a good feeling, and I definitely never want any of my personal guitar students to go through that. So although my channel gets a lot more views for my reaction videos and some of my interviews, I still like to keep the guitar music educational portion going. So when I teach people, when I have a new student comes to me, I use what's called a ladder method of teaching when it comes to theory. When someone comes to me and they want lessons, one of the first things I do is I evaluate them. I see where they're at. One of the first things is if I say, okay, well, you know, if I say the 5th fret on the A string, can you tell me what note is? If they just go, I don't know, I have no idea, and they can't tell me that that is a D, well, the first step I teach them in music theory is the chromatic scale, which is understanding the order of notes in music. It's really simple. I've had a couple of videos in the past where I break it down very in detail. This is my first step. 95% of all the people out there don't know this. They don't know the order of the notes. They don't know how they're laid out on the keyboard or guitar. If you don't know this, the rest of everything is just going to be completely over your head. Don't care. Been doing this a long time. So the next step, okay, this is what we're going to get into today. All right. So a lot of people say, okay, I got an idea of this now. Well, what's the deal? What's the most important thing? Well, the second step on the ladder of understanding music theory is something called the major scale. And to understand this, we have a couple of concepts here. A whole step and a half step. Okay? Sometimes, in some parts of the world, a whole step can be called a tone. Half step can be called a semitone. All right? So, a whole step is a distance of 2 frets. If you're on the 3rd fret of the low E string and then you moved up to the 5th fret, that's a distance of 2 frets. So a whole step is a distance of 2 frets. So if you're on your 3rd fret in your low E string, and then you went to your 5th fret, 1, 2. So from here to here is a distance of 2 frets. 1, 2. Okay, so whole step, distance of 2 frets, okay? So if a whole step is a distance of 2, if a whole is 2, then a half of a whole must be, and I'm not, you know, like they say that the mathematical portion of your brain is the same portion that works for music. It didn't turn on and work for me for math, folks. I got to be honest with you about that, okay? So a half step, therefore, is a distance of 1 fret. A half step, or a semitone, will be half of that. Therefore, half of 2 would be 1. So if we went from our 3rd fret to our 4th fret, 1. Now, we're at the point of this lesson where people say to me, that's nice, but what the hell does this mean?
What the hell does this mean?
So the major scale has a formula, okay? I can already see some of you cringing out there. It goes whole step, half step, whole step, half step, okay? Now, I know people are cringing out there. They're going, oh my God, I gotta leave this video and go watch another little strummy video because like this is too much for me. But you need to do this. You need to learn this if you want to be really good. I'm sorry, there's no way around it. You want to have an understanding of what you're doing. Okay, so if we want the major scale formula, we'll do this for C major. We write the numbers 1 to 8. All right? So if we want the C major formula, what note do we start on? If we want the C major formula, do we start on E? Do we start on F? No, we start on C. We apply the formula. Whole step, half step, whole step, and half step. Okay? So, we're on C, we go up a whole step. A whole step is 2. C sharp, D flat counts as 1. That's another common thing we'll get to in a second. Okay? 1, 2. So C goes to D. Whole step up from D, 1, 2 to E. Half step up from E, 1. Whole step up from F, 1, 2. Whole step up from G, 1, 2. Whole step up from A, 1, 2. And a half step up from B brings us back to C. Okay, 1. So when I show people the major scale, you know, even before that, when we started the chromatic scale, people will say to me often, why do they use sharps and flats? Why don't they just take the sharp and then it's easier? Well, the reason is because, as I adjust my lighting here, how's that? How do you find that? Okay, those shadows on the whiteboard, folks, they're not easy to get rid of. Okay, the reason is because certain major scales use sharps, certain major scales use flats. There's a reason for this. It has to do with something called the circle of fifths, which is really boring for all you anti-theory people. But you know what? Maybe we'll cover that in a future lesson. It's really not that hard, okay? So, we're going to take the G major scale, okay? So we're going to start on G. We apply the formula. It takes the sharps. So if we land on a sharp flat note, we'll take the sharp G. We go up a whole step. 1, 2 to A. Up a whole step. 1, 2 to B. Up a half step to C. Whole step to D. Okay, whole step to E. Now we're going to go up a whole step again. 1, 2. Okay, but we're going to take the sharp, F sharp. And a half step brings us back to G. Your 8 is always your root and octave higher, okay? So if you write it out and you land on something other than your first note, something's wrong. Okay, guys, it really is not rocket science. I've taught lawyers, I've taught high-end computer programmers, I've taught doctors, okay, who overthink things. It's really not that difficult. Let's write out a few more together. Okay, let's write out the D major scale. So we're going to start on D. D also uses sharps. If we land on a sharp flat note when we apply the formula, we're going to take the sharp, okay? So D, we go up a whole step. Okay, so we're on D, whole step, 1, 2 to E. Whole step to F sharp. Half step to G. Whole step to A. Whole step up from A is B. Okay, whole step up from B, 1, 2, C sharp, D flat. We're going to take the sharp, C sharp. And then a half step, of course, is going to bring us back to D. Okay, now let's do another one, A major scale. It'll use sharps and flats too, okay? All right, I'm trying to get the range here. This is a weird shot for me for my videos. Never done one quite like this before, okay? So, whole step up from A, whole step up from B, 1, 2, brings us to C sharp. Okay, half step to D, whole step from D up to E, whole step up from E to F sharp, whole step up from F sharp to G sharp, and a half step brings us back to A. We kind of see a pattern developing here, eh, folks? C major scale, no sharps or flats. G major scale, 1 sharp. D major scale, 2 sharps. A major scale, 3 sharps. Let's write out a few now that use flats, okay? So let's write the F major scale. Same thing, we're going to start on F, apply the formula, and if we have to stop, if we stop on a sharp flat note, we take the flat. We take the flat, sorry. F. Okay, same formula. Whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Or tone, tone, semitone, tone, 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 semitone. In my pea-brained head, when I was learning all this many years ago, and I can distinctly remember my first formal guitar teacher, who was an amazing teacher, when he started teaching me that, I told him, I said, I don't care about this. Show me this Metallica song. I think it was like Battery or something. This is way, way back in the late 80s. I want him to show me the riff or the solo or something. He said, no, you're going to learn this and you're going to be a good guitar player because I'm going to give you all the skills to be a good guitar player. He was right. Okay, so we're starting on F, okay? We go up a whole step. 1, 2 to G. Whole step again. 1, 2 to A. Now we're going to go up a half step. So we come to A sharp or B flat. The F major scale takes the flat. Okay. Okay. So now we're going to go up a whole step. Okay. I'm just following the formula, right? Okay. So we have B flat, up a whole step, 1, 2 to C. Okay. Up a whole step to D. Up a whole step to E. Of course, a half step brings us back to F. Now, we're also at a point here where people are going to say to me, okay, but like, why do I need to do this? Okay. A couple little things here. When you play a chord, okay, we'll just touch on this a little bit. When you play a chord on the guitar, okay, if I said, play a C major chord, and people would play a C, okay? I'll even grab a guitar for you. Most people, they'd be like, and if I say, okay, what are the notes you're playing? They'd be like, I don't know. But if you know the chromatic scale, you can say, okay, the first note I'm playing, 3rd fret on the A string is a C. 2nd fret on the D string is an E. Then I have an open G. Then I have, here I'm playing a C again, 1st fret on the B string. Then I have an open E. Most people can't do that, folks. Okay? But the people that can, that's fantastic. A lot of people might be like, I don't know. I just don't know. I don't know. They just say this is a C. Okay. Well, major chord has a formula, okay? We talked about the major scale, but we have a major chord. Okay? If we take the first degree, the third degree, and the fifth degree, and put them together, that's where notes of a major chord come from, as does every other chord and scale. Okay, we'll get into that in later lessons, okay? But so a C major chord, if we take the first degree, the third degree, and the fifth degree, the notes are C, E, and G. We have a C major chord, or a major triad. So when you watch some of those really popular, I got that shadow happening there, those really popular YouTube channels, and you're watching go, I have no idea what the hell they're talking about, but it sounds cool. Well, now you can start to see where a triad comes from, okay? So if I'm playing here, as long as I have those three notes together, I've got a C. This is a C. This is a C. This is a C. As long as I have those three notes together, I got a C major triad, okay? Good God, man, this is a tough shot to do here, okay? A G. What would the notes in a G major chord be? Well, our first degree is G, our third degree is B, and our fifth degree is D. So a common question I get asked by beginners or people that have been playing a while and they don't know any of this stuff, they'll say, well, you play your G like this, meaning my third finger on the third fret on the B, but I play it like this, meaning they play it with the B string open. Who's right and who's wrong? Well, here's the thing. If I play with my third finger on the third fret on the B string, if you know the chromatic scale, okay, we know that the third fret on the B string is a D. For all of you out there that say, theory's stupid, man, you don't know that. Good for you. Keep on thinking that. Okay, so it's a D. Well, a D is in the G major triad. But if I take my finger off and I leave it open, well, it's an open B. The B is in the triad. So the answer is they're both right. So, this YouTube thing, man, I tell you, okay? So now we know how to write out a major scale. It's really not rocket science. This is where a lot of people are so confused, okay? And where a major chord comes from. Every chord has a formula that comes from the major scale. It's the big mama. Same with every other scale out there. For those of you people who are completely lost, this is the second step. But always go back to this. As I said, I'll post some links at the end. Learn the chromatic scale. If you don't know that, this is going to just be complete Chinese to you. Again, as a teacher, all you can do is do the best you can and point people in the right direction. Will they follow you or will they make a choice to just continue to be lost for years to come? That's kind of up to them, right? But anyway, this is the major scale, okay? This is the second step in understanding music theory, and it's very important because everything comes from the major scale. All right, guys, remember, practice hard, but practice smart. Guys, I want you to know our subscriber count's going up. I really appreciate it. I know most of you like my reaction videos, but the musical education and teaching people is still very important to me. If you're a guitar player or musician and you like this type of content and you want extra advice on technique, practice, gear discussions, check out my guitar Patreon community. I just started a few weeks ago. All right, lots of extras there on different techniques, theory, lessons, stories, the whole 9 yards. Check it out. The support is greatly appreciated, guys, because, you know, a misconception, people think, oh, over 20,000 subscribers, they're making a ton of money on YouTube. That ain't true, my friends. I did a breakdown on that a few weeks ago. So if you want to check out my guitar Patreon community for extra help, that would be awesome. Remember, guys, practice hard, but practice smart. Because are you practicing smart? Do you notice a big improvement in your playing from month to month? We'll see you soon.